Well, another Iron Banner has come and gone, and I have to say this has been a rather sad experience, especially compared to the last Iron Banner that we had, which was Eruption. Now look, here's the thing, Eruption to me was the perfect Iron Banner game mode. We used to have Control in Iron Banner, right? Just a simplified version of Control. You went in, if you got all 3 capture points, the hunt would activate, you would hunt your enemies, you get a bunch of extra points, it was straightforward, it was simple, it wasn't bad, it was still a game mode that had aspects of actually wanting to kill your enemy, but had aspects of wanting to fight for an objective at the same time. It was the best of both worlds in many aspects, and that's what made it so great. But then we kind of had this bad zone where we went into something like Rift. Now, Rift was the first attempt at shaking things up. They said, we want to try to not make this just the same thing every time Iron Banner is active, and they gave us Rift. I was not a fan of the 66 Rift in most contexts, because here was the problem with Rift, and it's the same problem we're running into right now with Fortress. The problem with Rift is that it was not focused in the slightest on kills. You could be the best player in that game, you could slay out every single match, but when it came to that leaderboard at the end, your name could be dead set at the bottom because you didn't walk a freaking ball into a goal. If I want to play soccer, then I'll go ahead and try my best luck at the FIFA World Cup. But guess what? I'm going to leave that one to Argentina and Brazil because I want to sit here and play Destiny 2. I want to shoot my gun at the enemy, and I want to have some actual respect put on my name when I do that well. But Bungie doesn't want to care about that anymore. They want to shift towards this completely objective-centric game modes for Iron Banner. And to me, that just doesn't really make much sense. You put time in to sharpen your gun skills, to sharpen yourself in terms of knowing the game, knowing your enemy, knowing the abilities, knowing the guns. And when you do that, you expect a certain respect out of the game to your time, to your commitment, and to yourself for getting good, and you want that to pay off. With these game modes that are completely objective-centric, you don't get that. Any numbskull in a 5-mile radius of you can go ahead and pick up their controller and push those sticks towards a goal where they can drop a ball in. If I want to play Rocket League, I'll go play it, but I don't. Again, I don't want to play Rocket League. I don't want to go to the FIFA World Cup. I want to play Destiny 2. Now let's come to the most recent game mode. We have Fortress here, right? What's the problem with Fortress? Again, it's completely objective-centric. The kills you get do not matter. I got to the end of a match of Fortress, and again, you look at that leaderboard, it did not matter how hard I fragged out. And let me tell you, I was fragging out hard. Now, I do community events with my boys and my girls, whoever it may be, every single time there's an Iron Banner. And for the past couple of times, I've had a very general consensus agreeing with me. They do not like these objective-centric game modes, and I'm even getting that same consensus from players that aren't necessarily high up on the totem pole when it comes to people who frag out a bunch. Even players that are not fragging out like crazy, having a 3.0, 4.0 KD in these matches, they don't like these because even they just don't want to stand in a circle the entire match. I don't know why they thought that bringing Control back would be a good idea when we had something as perfect as Eruption, but they did. But then not only did they bring Control back, but they made it worse. They made it to where the kills do not matter in Control anymore, and all that matters is standing in that circle. You need to keep taking these circles from your enemies, and it's great, but guess what? I cheated my way through my geometry class in school, and I certainly don't want to take it again. Now, I don't want to stand in a circle, Bungie. I want to go slay out, and I want to get rewarded for that. I want to get credit for myself slaying out, for putting that time in to be the best player that I can be, and actually have some credit towards that. Now, when you're just making these objective-centric game modes, we don't get that in the slightest. Now, let's look at how they kind of changed up Control in Fortress to make it any kind of new. They put one point that spawns eventually that you need to fight over with the enemy team so you can get as many points as possible in a short amount of time. That is this version of the hunt for Iron Banner when it comes to Fortress. What happens exactly? Well, a Cabal drop pod comes down, and no Cabals fall out of it. If those big meaty motherfuckers fell out of that drop pod, maybe I would think that was pretty cool. But no, what happens? They drop 3 turrets. Okay, cool. You gotta kill those turrets, and then you can actually cap that point. The point caps very quickly, and then you get a bunch of points off of it. Now, first of all, can I just say, when you capture those points, it is the most ear-screeching, fire alarm batteries running out noise in the existence of humanity. Fix that sound effect, Bungie, because that thing sucks. Now, after you cap that, you get a bunch of points, and that's it. It resets. A, B, and C come back, you recap them, you get more points. But the points you get from those flags aren't tied to your kills, they're just tied to time. You have to hold that flag when it goes around the circle, and then boom, you get some points off of that. That's not satisfying in the slightest. And it's not even that hard to control these objectives, to just hold them off from your enemies. You don't even necessarily need to have all the flags even. Why would you go out of your way to get all 3 flags when you can easily just hold 2? And even then, you can hold 1 easily, and then just make sure you're always getting that big old drop pod flag that comes down, and that can be the decider of the entire match. Now let's go to the leaderboards. You might be thinking, why am I talking so much about the leaderboards? Do they really matter? And the answer is yes and no. I think the leaderboards do matter to a certain extent because that's what's showing that you put in the time, that you put in the effort, and that you are a good player, right? You want that satisfaction. They put the leaderboards there at the end of a match for a reason. You already knew if you win or lost, but you want to see those leaderboards so you can see how people on your team stacked up, how you stacked up, and how good of a player you are. But when it doesn't have anything to do with any kind of kill-centric, KD-driven game modes, it just doesn't really matter to have that leaderboard there anymore. That leaderboard pops up and you know what it shows me? Okay, this guy on my team captured 8 flags. I captured 6 flags. This guy captured 1 flag. But guess what? Now it's swayed because, ooh, I defended a flag a few times, and this guy, he shot a turret. Cool. If I want to go play PvE inside of my PvP, I'll go and play Gambit. You want to know what people don't play? Gambit. Because Gambit sucks. So please, this is the entire point. Stop making these objective-centric Iron Banner game modes. Eruption was the best thing you have done in many seasons. I think it's no secret that Bungie has been dropping the ball immensely when it's come to PvP in the past few seasons, and the one thing that they've done really, really well is making Eruption. I gave them praise for that nonstop last season when they came out with Eruption. I said, Bungie, you mess up a lot when it comes to PvP, but Eruption, you knocked it out of the park. And I wasn't lying. They look like Babe Ruth behind the plate there because they were just knocking these balls out of the park when it came to Eruption. It was the perfect game mode, and let's go ahead and break it down. When it came to Eruption, what'd you do? You got kills, that put you onto a kill streak eventually, and if you didn't keep going with that kill streak, you blew up. It was perfect. It actually accentuated and wanted you to go in and be aggressive. You could still play with pulse rifles and keep a streak going, but you didn't even need to get the last hits. You could just be a part of kill credits and have a streak going. So even players that aren't good enough to get those last hits and secure kills for themselves in 1v1 could just play with their team, and they could even get the enjoyment out of going on a long streak and erupting them stealth. That's what's fun about it. You made the perfect PvP game mode where we could actually be a kill-centric game mode, not have to worry about objective in the slightest, and everybody could enjoy it no matter what the skill level was. Now, there are some other things that I think they messed up with in Iron Banner, specifically when it comes to things like SBMM being implemented. It's no secret if you are a fan of my channel and have been sticking around for a while, I am a big, hater on SBMM. I very much do not like it, and they have inserted SBMM into Iron Banner now. It has ruined the matchmaking to a certain degree this time around for me, and it's not going to go away, so I'm just going to basically ignore it and not make it too much of my factoring of what has been wrong with Iron Banner this time around, because overall I think it's just the game mode. But the entire point of this video is just to say Eruption is the perfect Iron Banner game mode. Bring it back, make it the Iron Banner game mode now. If you want to try something new every now and again, that's fine, but make Iron Banner Eruption the main game mode that you pull out every time Iron Banner is on the table. And then, every now and again, maybe you want to switch it up. But when you switch it up, Bungie, please, this is all I'm saying. Make sure it's not completely objective-centric game modes. The community does not want that, whether you're a top-tier player or you're a bottom-tier player. It doesn't matter. Everyone's the same. We want to shoot at the enemy, and we want to be rewarded for it. We want to be given credit for it, and we want to feel good about it. And when it's just coming around to throwing a little ball into a goal and standing in a circle, that doesn't happen. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And that is it for me today. So as always, have a great day, Guardians.